With the release of Lost Caverns of Ixalan, we have 4 new Commander Precons coming, each focused on a specific creature type. And today, we're looking at Blood Rites, the vampire typal black and white deck. This deck bites, in the best way possible, and is led by our box legend, Claviano, the first of the blessed. This 3-mana 2/2 vampire cleric reads, whenever you attack, target attacking vampire that isn't a demon becomes a demon in addition to its other types. It gains, when this creature dies, draw a card and create a tapped 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying. That's right, Claviano wants you to be attacking with other vampires, and notably, doesn't need to attack himself in order to get this trigger. Just whenever you attack, you can choose a vampire to house a 4/3 vampire demon within them, like some kind of grotesque chest burster. This gives you a few routes to turning your little 1/1 vampire tokens into 4/3 flyers, though only one per turn. Which means with him at the helm you want a few things. Vampires, attacking, and ways to off our own vampires so they live up to their full demonic potential. But Claviano isn't the only new legend in the deck. We also have Carmen Cruel Skymarcher. This 5-mana 2/2 vampire soldier has flying and reads, whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, put a +1/+1 counter on Carmen, Cruel Skymarcher, and you gain 1 life. Whenever Carmen attacks, return up to 1 target permanent card with mana value less than or equal to Carmen's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's 2 triggered abilities on Carmen, making her twice as good as Claviano, right? Her first triggered ability reminds me a lot of Mazarek Crawl Death Priest, in that it cares about whenever any player sacrifices any permanent. Granted, Carmen only buffs herself, but that life gain is decent. Helps shut down opponents' aristocrat-related strategies at least. Being a flyer, it also means that she's her own threat once we start making people sacrifice anything from lands to artifacts to creatures. I'm sure opponents will think twice about using treasures with Carmen on the battlefield, but her second ability gives us even more value, allowing us to return permanents to the battlefield from our graveyards when she attacks. This means we've got some routes to reanimate big creatures, or get pesky problems back again and again and again, making sure our opponents never get a break from this onslaught. In case it wasn't obvious, comparing Claviano to Carmen comes to a clear conclusion in my mind. I'll be pivoting the deck away from Claviano's vampire typal into a more sacrifice-oriented brew that looks to reanimate your permanents and bash in for damage. Carmen is my girl. But before we take a look at the upgrade, let's look at a few of the new cards in this precon, because there are some doozies in here. Starting with Master of Dark Rites. This simple 1/1 vampire cleric costs 1, but is a dark ritual on a stick. All it costs is sacrificing another creature, and you get a nice infusion of mana. This one is a lot like Soldevi Adnate or Illuminar Xeris, except somehow even better. These 2 cards care about sacrificing creatures' mana value, where the Master here doesn't, meaning tokens are fair game to get you 3 mana each and every turn. That is value. Pair him with token generators like Bitter Blossom or Dreadhorde Invasion, and you can rock it 3 turns ahead of your opponents as early as turns 2 or 3. Along with enabling any kind of aristocrat strategy, I think the Master here is a big winner. We also have the new Promise of Aclazotz, a 2-mana enchantment that also has a 3-mana adventure sorcery, Foul Rebirth, stapled to it. The Foul Rebirth part reads, sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, create a 4/3 white and black vampire demon creature token with flying, which is an easy way to turn a 1/1 token into a threat in the air. But the real prize is the enchantment hack, as Promise of Aclazotz reads, at the beginning of your end step, you may sacrifice a non-demon creature. If you do, populate, which of course creates a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. That's right, Black finally gets a good, reliable source of populating. This is the first time Black has seen this keyword in its repertoire, meaning token strategies involving Black are getting a huge boost, as populate lets you make more and more of the tokens you have. Those tokens might even be that 4/3 flying demon vampire that Foul Rebirth created. Or it may be an XX horror, or a 5/5 demon. The possibilities here are endless. Another fun new card is Redemption Choir, a 4-mana 3/3 life-linking vampire cleric. They have Coven, a mechanic we haven't seen since Midnight Hunt, meaning whenever they attack or enter the battlefield, as long as you control 3 or more other creatures with different powers, themselves included, you can return a permanent with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's right, these guys are a mini Sun Titan, getting you everything you want from the big beefy white Titan, but 2 whole turns earlier. There are some caveats, and they might not be as good at attacking, but the Choir makes for sneaky reanimation strategies or value plays like returning fetch lands over and over again. If you play Sun Titan in your decks, the Redemption Choir is a serious consideration. Lastly, we have Alenda's Hierophant. This 3-mana 1/1 flying cleric says, whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on Alenda's Hierophant. When Alenda's Hierophant dies, create X 1/1 vampire creature tokens with lifelink, where X is its power. Living up to Alenda herself, the Hierophant grows and grows when you gain life, a lot like a Johnny's Pridemate, except with built-in evasion. Right away, with that alone, she fits into strategies that look to gain small amounts of life over and over again. In any deck with a Soul's Attendant or a Soul Warden, she fits right in. But it does not stop there. When the Hierophant dies, you create X 1/1 vampires with lifelink. Note that that's power and not just number of +1/+1 counters on her, which means whether you've gained a bunch of life or you've put a Black Blade Reforged on her, she comes with her own insurance policy. I like this one a lot as a flying threat and board wipe insurance. The fact that you can also choose to pop her at any time for a massive tidal wave of Bloodsuckers pushes her into very strong territory. Now, let's take a look at how we can pivot this deck away from being vampire typal and into something resembling a more exciting deck. Starting with the cuts. Some of the vampires in the deck are there just for the sake of being vampires, like Dusk Legion Zealot, Nighthawk Scavenger, and Bloodline Necromancer. These have some vampire synergies, of which we'll be keeping a few in the deck, but largely these ones just do their own thing, and once they're in play, don't serve any further purpose. They're good, but they don't fit our synergies in the long run. There are also some unnecessarily expensive creatures in the deck. Timothar, Baron of Bats, gives your vampire some longevity, but for 6 mana, you're likely already humming along with an engine. The board wipe insurance is nice, but we want things dying in the long run. Butcher of Malakir is, and I'm going on record saying this, not a good vampire. Yes, a Grave Pact on a body is decent, but for 7 mana, for the effect, it's just ludicrous. Grave Pact itself has never been more affordable thanks to a reprint in Commander Masters, more on that in the upgrade. But with little ways to cheat the Butcher into play, he really gets the chop here. And the new Order of Sacred Dusk is a lot to ask for. 8 mana is made cheaper with Convoke, sure, and it does have flying, lifelink, and haste, along with giving your other vampires Exalted. But it just means that you're going all in on attacking with a single creature-based fireball every turn, and cuts you off from attacking wide and attacking multiple players, as Exalted needs you to attack with a single creature. This is what I call high risk, as declaring it as your only attacker and getting blown out with a single block or any piece of removal means you've tapped down your board and gained a few life, but that's it. In my opinion, not worth it at all. The typal anthems and synergy pieces like Etchings of the Chosen, Radiant Destiny, and Kindred Boon can all go too. Yes, we will still have a lot of vampires in the deck, but in reality we'll be focusing on Carmen and the synergy of Sacrifice. Glory for the Dusk Legion! Now, with those cuts in mind, what would I add in? What can be our Sacrifice engines, and what can get us online and pumping Carmen to be a real threat in the air, while also replenishing our board? First, let's get a few ways to make everyone sacrifice stuff. Innocent Blood, Rankle's Prank, and the new Abyssal Gorestalker are all ways to get 4 to 8 counters on Carmen at a single time. And since Gorestalker is a permanent, it means Carmen can reanimate it on attack to keep crushing your opponent's creature counts. This also makes cards like Demon's Disciple, Fleshbag Marauder, and Plague Crafter very good for that same reason, acting as a way to get 4 +1/+1 counters onto Carmen on cast, and another 4 if we reanimate them on attack. Since we can sacrifice them themselves to their own effect, we stay creature neutral while reducing our opponent's boards again and again. For additional big bursts of sacrificing, we get the very on-theme Vona's Hunger, serving as a semi-board wipe and a whack of counters onto our commander. Just make sure to be #blessed before casting. And for a big finisher, which I feel like the deck lacks in its original form, I really like Death Cloud. It's an all-or-nothing effect that makes players discard cards, sacrifice creatures, and sacrifice lands. But if you make sure Carmen is the last one standing, that'll be enough counters on her to not only take an opponent out with commander damage, but also bring back to the battlefield anything you've just sacrificed. Swapping some of our board wipes to be more sacrifice-based could really help us too. By Invitation Only is a 5-mana board wipe that lets us pick and choose exactly how many creatures are being sacrificed. Again, as long as we ensure Carmen is the last vampire standing, she could be attacking for lethal in a decisive swing. Now, for some final changes, the land base could really use some work. We've got quite a few lands in the deck that enter tapped and aren't necessary for us to function. Myriad Landscape, Temple of the False God, and Temple of Silence are all subpar lands that don't add anything and, in fact, could be actively setting you back several turns in tempo. Orzhov Basilica and Windbrisk Heights may seem like they have upsides, but in reality they're just traps to lure you into, and the thought that you could be getting ahead is diminished when you're actually playing behind curve. I've cut these 5 lands for more basics. We've really upped the count on black cards with our additions, so I'm going to add 4 swamps and 1 plains to balance. Last but not least, the upgrade. If I were to add some real cash to the deck, where would I invest? First and foremost, Grave Pact and Dictate of Erebos. These 2 turn your deck into a cascade of sacrifice for your opponents. Each one thing you sacrifice to your own effect makes them continue to pump your commander. While it may not be the most fun to play against, it is effective for this strategy's synergy. Another good add to the deck is Captivating Vampire. We still have a very high count of vampires in the deck, so tapping 5 isn't hard to do. And why sacrifice your own creatures when you can be sacrificing your opponent's commander instead? Whew, deliciously evil. Seeing as we're sacrificing our own creatures from time to time, making tokens and generally being a nuisance, adding Skull Clamp to the deck can allow us to profit further from these sacrifices. The best draw engine in any deck that has creatures dying, it's definitely a good add here too. Last but never least, we can tweak our removal package a bit. While not the most expensive, adding in Generous Gift, Stroke of Midnight, and Fracture to the deck means we can have a versatile suite of removal to deal with anything and everything. Let me know what you think of this upgrade in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions for additions, be sure to share. And be sure to check out my sponsor, Face to Face Games. They're Canada's largest game store, and has all of the singles and sealed product you're looking for, including these new Caverns of Ixalan Precons. Use my promo code MECHANIC today for 5% off your entire order. And be sure to check out the updated deck list, linked in the description below, at my sponsor Moxfield. Moxfield is the best deck building site in the world, and helps track changes to decks through their easy-to-use deck history feature. While you're there, be sure to follow my profile and never miss a brew. Don't miss any of these other videos on the channel either. If you were inspired to build today, you have to hit that subscribe button. As always, folks, good luck and have fun.